At this place in history, we're in Putney. I'm with Executive Director of the Vermont Historical Society, Steve Perkins, to tell us why.
So we're standing outside the house of Dr. Laura Plants, who was the first female medical practitioner in the state of Vermont. So I am very excited to learn more about her life and her times today.
So, Steve, the sign says for Dr. Laura Plants, the first female medical doctor in Vermont. What does that mean?
So there's some controversy about that as to who practiced in Vermont first, but she was born Laura Wheeler in Linden, Vermont, and then her family ended up moving to Putney. So she was a Vermonter. She was born here. She was married and she moved out of the state. Tragically, her husband died, but left her a fair amount of money, and this is in the 1850s. So she went and attended the Pennsylvania Medical College in Philadelphia. She received her medical degree 6 years after the first woman in the entire United States received a medical degree, so it was very early. She took that medical degree and she moved to New York City, and she worked there specializing in women's diseases. So, early on what we call a gynecologist. And then she was married again, and she moved to Minnesota, where she was the first female doctor in the entire state of Minnesota, and then on to Michigan, where she was the first female doctor in the entire state of Michigan. And then she was widowed once more.
Oh, no. Did she ever come back to Vermont?
So the third marriage was to a judge with a last name of Plants, and so that's why we see her name on the sign as Dr. Laura Plants. They were married in California. She traveled around a lot. They toured Europe, but ultimately she decided she wanted to end up back in Vermont. So they came back to her hometown of Putney, built the beautiful house that we see here, and she ended up practicing in Vermont for 40 more years. So she practiced from 1879, when she was 50 years old, until she was in her 90s. And she's buried right there in Putney and well beloved by the community.
At this place in history,